welcome back to my little series that I'm doing where I read one of my favorite books, The Laws of Spirit by Dan Millman, A Tale of Transformation. It's a beautiful blend of learning mixed in with a fictional story. So, I hope you enjoy, and if you enjoy it and you haven't seen the others, go back and listen to those, or just get the book yourself. Today is the law of presence, living in the moment. And there's a little excerpt that I'll read. Time is a paradox, stretching between a past and a future. They have no reality except in our own minds. The idea of time is a convention of thought and language, a social agreement. Here is the deeper truth. We have only this moment. And there's a little quote. It's only possible to live happily ever after on a moment-to-moment basis, by Margaret Bonanno? Sorry if I'm mispronouncing it. Okay, let's begin. Our hike down went more quickly than the climb up, but I was so lost in thought that I hardly noticed. Where are we going? What will we be doing next? Will I be able to remember what she's telling me? When will I get home? Will I see her tomorrow? As if in response to my inner pondering, she said, "You seem preoccupied, so perhaps now is a good time to describe the law of presence." Yes, she reflected, now is always a good time. The sage pointed out over the hills below and then asked, "Do you see how the sun illuminates that field of daffodils, there against the emerald grasses? To me, they're as beautiful as any work of art in any museum in the world." We walked in silence as the colors slipped from the twilight sky. A few minutes later, as we rounded a wall of familiar boulders, her hut came into view. The sage opened her thatched door and once again invited me inside. She quickly set the fire to crackling, then she stood and excused herself to go outside. I assumed to take care of her physical needs as I had done earlier. As the minutes passed and she did not reappear, I began to fidget, wondering when she would be back and how I would find my way home in the dark if indeed I returned home at all tonight. I supposed I could always sleep on the hills. The temperature was cool, but not cold, and my family would not return until Monday afternoon, 2 days hence. What happened next was so bizarre that I began to doubt my senses. Instead of the sage, a large cat entered the hut. She walked in deliberately as if she knew exactly where she was going. She had a dark, shiny coat, part Siamese maybe, and part sage. I said this because the next thing I knew, she spoke to me, not with her mouth, but with her mind. Her voice was like that of the sage, only quieter. She sat tall, as cats do, looked right at me, and got to the point. "Have you ever considered how time is a paradox?" she asked before daintily licking the fur on her shoulder. Feeling very strange, I answered aloud, "I can't say that I have. Not since reading my last time travel novel, anyway." Her voice again resonated in my ears or my mind. Time stretches between a past and a future that have no objective reality. Time is a convention of thought and language, a social agreement. In other words, time exists because we say it does. "Exactly so," she whispered. "Time is like a film of your life that consists of separate frames passing in front of a lens. Each frame is where you exist, in a present moment, but the frames appear to move. You can project your mind into what you call the past or the future, but you cannot live in any moment other than the present. I and my kind are masters of the present moment." Having said this, she stretched, lay down gracefully, and attended to her fur. I considered what she had to say. I'd always liked cats, despite the air of aloof superiority, and as crazy as it seemed to learn the law of presence from a cat, it also felt completely appropriate. No cat I have ever known gave much due to past or future. Like the wisest of sages, cats live each moment afresh. The cat looked up at me with complete attention. I, in my kind, have presence because I am totally present, here and now. Can you say the same? Me? Well, yes. I sometimes feel like I'm right there. That is. By the time I had stammered this far, she had turned to more important things, like watching a moth in the light of the fire. As if I hadn't said anything worth a comment, she continued, "What you did this morning or yesterday or last year has now vanished, except in your mind. What is to come is only a dream. We have only this moment, you see." "I see," I said, not at all sure of what I saw. "I'm not done. Are you aware that your sense of time passing is only an array of impressions and memories happening in the present moment? Regrets of the past are present impressions happening now. Future anxieties have no reality except in your mind, in this moment, as images, sounds, and feelings. In other words, past and future are happening now as you create them." In a vague attempt to get some high ground, I said, "If this is the law of presence, it seems rather abstract." "Time is the abstraction," she replied. "However, you can apply the law of presence in a very practical ways to banish regrets, concerns, or confusion. Your ability to refocus attention back to the present moment grows with practice. Someday, you may be able to do this as I do, quite naturally." So much for the high ground, I thought. This cat had a point, and she clearly practiced what she preached. Then my mind drifted for a moment, and I looked toward the door. Where was the sage? She should have been back long ago. "Hello," I heard the cat say, snapping me back to the present. "Do you understand how the law of presence can change your life forever? Forever, of course, being right now." "I already know the value of living in the present," I retorted, trying to salvage a little self-respect. "Knowing and doing aren't necessarily the same thing, especially in your case," she purred, looking extremely pleased with herself. "Whenever you have a problem, it involves something past or future. You keep problems alive in your present mind by giving them your attention and energy, letting them live rent-free in your head. I, in contrast, don't give them the time of day. Life's too short," she said with finality. "Well, thank you, Your Highness," I said. "Are you finished?" "Not by a long shot. Not until you truly understand that past and future are nothing more than a bad habit of the mind, of your mind. Concerns about past or future are like delusions of a crazy man who hears voices or sees creatures that exist only in his imagination, present company excluded, of course." The irony of hearing this from a talking cat did not escape me. "But," she continued, "as you notice what you're doing more and more, you can overcome this habit as you might any other by remembering and applying the law of presence." She stopped licking her fur and gave me her undivided attention. "I sincerely hope you appreciate the law of presence and the time I've taken to explain it to you." Without waiting for my response, she continued, "Presence is like a time machine that lightens the mind, liberates you from anxiety, and gives birth to a new way of living. In other words, you become more like me." "I can hardly wait," I said, then laughed. "As I've said, in order to have presence, you have to be present and remember where you are and when you are. Then you will know who you are. Presence teaches that what you do today is important because you are trading a day of your life for it. So let this law sweep your mind clear of unnecessary debris and return you to a state of clarity, simplicity, and inner peace." "Like you," I volunteered. "I'm so glad you noticed," she purred. "And remember that no matter how real or compelling your thoughts may be, you can always call upon the law of presence, reminding yourself that only now exists, that only now is real. If you do so as an act of reverence, making the moment sacred, you bow to that quiet, cat-like self inside that knows and all is well. So it's that easy to become cat-like? It may be a considerable stretch in your case," she said, arching her back, yawning, and walking around the fire towards the door. Embrace this moment. Put one foot in front of the other and handle what's in front of you. Because no matter where your mind may roam, your body always remains here and now. When you haste, rest in the present. Take a deep breath and come back here now. The cat once again stretched luxuriously and without another word walked out the door. Almost as soon as the cat left, the sage reappeared and sat down without explanation. "Where was I?" she said. "Ah, yes, we were discussing the law of presence." "I think that was covered pretty well," I said. Did I detect something like amusement in her eyes? "And where have you been?" I asked. "Oh, outside, enjoying the night air, leaning against the back of the hut there behind you." "But wait a minute, were you—" I didn't even bother to finish. I just watched as the sage, with great presence, put a small kettle suspended on a green stick over the fire and dropped in some tea leaves. I wondered whether we would be talking into the night, but then I let it go and enjoyed the moment and the tea, which, as turned out, was superb. That was The Law of Presence. I honestly forgot that chapter, so that was a nice read. And as always, this chapter is perfectly aligning with what I needed to hear right now. So, thank you guys for listening and reading this with me, and I will be back again soon.